Flip to Freedom, episode number 44. Hello again, this is Sean Terry from the Flip to Freedom podcast, and we are on episode number 44. Now, if you are listening for the very first time, the audio is not this bad all the time. I'm actually calling you from my car. Not calling you. I am recording this podcast from my car. It's a car cast today. I've done several of these, and I got an internet lead that came in from a guy that is super motivated. He wants to sell his house, and he wants to sell it right now, so I'm headed down there to check it out, take some pictures, and get the deal under contract. So it's been a busy couple weeks, I'll tell you that right now. But if you're listening for the very first time, I put this podcast together for you to basically show you exactly how to escape the 9-to-5, quit your job, get out of the rat race, and basically be done with the pain of working a job, working for the man, working for someone else. So I've put this podcast together to show you how to get out of that by flipping properties in your spare time. So flipping properties is basically tying up a property on a contract for one price and selling it to a cash buyer that can close quick for a higher price. And you can make the spread in between. Now, it's, you can do this in all over the entire country. You can do it, on big deals, making $50,000, $100,000 per deal. You can do it on small deals, making $5,000 to $10,000 per deal. But you can do it in your spare time. And the great thing about it is you don't need cash, right? You don't need cash to fund it. You don't need transactional funding. You don't need private financing. You don't need a partner. You can use cash. You don't need cash to get these deals done. All you do is sign a simple 2 or 3 or 4 page contract, whatever's in your state, and then sign a contract with a cash buyer who will then provide the cash to close the transaction in what's called a double escrow or a simultaneous close, or even just a simple an assignment contract. So that's what this show is about. I've got 43 different episodes that dive in deep on exactly how to do this business, how to find the sellers, how to find the buyers, how to negotiate the deals, how to structure deals. So if you want to go back and listen to the previous 43 different episodes, please go ahead and do that. And in this particular episode, we are going to talk about the next step. Because flipping properties is great. What that does is it allows you to get cash quickly, come into your bank account quickly. Think about it. If you do, say 2 or 3 deals a month, let's call it 3 deals a month, and you make an average $5,000 per deal, that's an extra $15,000 a month you can generate very, simply. That is not a huge feat to do. Now, if you're doing, 4 deals, 5 deals, 10 deals a month like I do, guess what? You can get up to some serious monthly income every single month. But what's going to happen is you're going to get to a point in your business to where you're going, hey, you know what? I don't want to flip deals anymore. I want to generate cash flow. I want to go out and generate some cash flow and build my net worth. So what we're going to talk about in this particular episode is basically the next step is structuring and building a net worth of over $1 million and to build over $10,000 a month in cash flow using none of your own credit and none of your own cash. That's what we're going to talk about in this particular episode. And at the end of this particular episode, I'm going to talk about a little story that I just want to tell you about and tell you the benefits of not working a job. And it's a little touching story, and I thought I'd share it with you. All right, so before I get into this particular episode here, and I'm driving here, so you got to bear with me if I lose my train of thought, because I don't want to hit the guy in front of me. But I do want to recognize several people who actually went into the iTunes store. They searched Flip to Freedom podcast in iTunes, and they actually left a review. Now, I know there's a ton of people listening on BlackBerry. So, guys, all you guys on the BlackBerry, welcome. I don't have an access to the BlackBerry app. on my computer, but because I don't have a BlackBerry. But if you left reviews there, I do appreciate it. Just forward them on to me on my at flip2freedom@gmail.com, and I would be happy to recognize them on the show here, because I know there's a lot of people listening from the BlackBerry network. Anyways, all right. So let's get into a couple of these reviews of people that left here, and I'm pulling them up on my iPhone as I'm driving and talking right now. So, okay, the first one is from Fish 5 Days, which is cool. I like that. And it says, Sean really is a pleasure listening to. He presents great content in a way that's exciting and educational. Fish 5 Days, thank you very much for your kind comment. I greatly appreciate you taking the time and going into iTunes and leaving that. The next one is from Stevo1388. How you doing, Stevo? He says, good stuff. This podcast rocks. Sean delivers 100% real-world content that I use in my daily in my own real estate business. I always look forward to the next episode being released. Please keep it up. P.S. I'm really enjoying the Internet Marketing Mobile podcast as well. So that is those comments inside of the Flip to Freedom podcast there. So now let's get into exactly how to go out and build $1 million. Now I'm talking about doing this in the next 12 months. I'm not talking about doing this 5 years from now. I'm talking about doing this in the next 5 months by building $1 million net worth and $10,000 a month cash flow using none of your own cash and none of your own credit. Okay? Now, first off, I basically did this exact same principle back in 2003, 2004, and built a $36 million rental property portfolio using these same methods. Now, sometimes we put our own cash in, but a lot of times we didn't. Okay, and what it was, and I'm going to basically tell you how I did that and how you can do the same. So, what I did was that it was about 120 properties, $36 million. We ended up, when the height of the market in 2005, the market was going absolutely bananas. I mean, it was nuts. The market was going up anywhere from 5% a month. We saw the writing on the wall that we had to sell, and then we did. We started unloading the properties to California investors in blocks of 20 and 30 at a time, and sold them all between May and November 2005. And literally, it was just, money was just, it was like a river flow. It was unbelievable selling all those properties. So now is the time to start doing this again, because we're on the bottom of the market right now when it comes to real estate. Actually, signs are starting, inventories are starting to decrease, and now is start time to looking at the buy and hold model again, and being able to build a portfolio, because guess what? You and I both know that the market will go up again. How fast? Who knows? How high? Who knows? When? Who knows? But we know it's going to go up, just like we knew in 2005 that the market had to come down. Well, now we want to start buying when the market's terrible, when people are just, people think the market sucks. That's when you can get great deals and have built-in equity. Okay, and also building cash flow on deals. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into. So first off, what happens is in this wholesale business model, I teach to market for motivated sellers, and you want to market for motivated sellers by either doing online marketing, like the lead I'm going to right now. You could do that through. You can do it through sending yellow letters to the correct specific list, which would be like an inheritance list, a probate list, an absentee investor list. It could be a free and clear list where people and properties free and clear. It could be pre-foreclosures with properties that have equity in them. So there are different lists you can target, and you can send direct mail to these specific lists, and you can get people to call you or call your assistant, whatever you want to do, however you have to set up, like we talked about in the last episode. But people are going to be calling you, and what's going to happen is that some people are going to have good deals, but they are going to have a loan in place on the property. Okay. Now, what you can do is that there are 3 different, basically, strategies you can use to get this property secured on financing. The first one is called subject to. That's when you buy the property subject to the existing loan. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say, theoretically, you have a $100,000 property. And let's say the seller owes $80,000. Okay, so that's an 80% loan to value on that particular deal. Now, you have $20,000 in equity. Let's say the payments on the $80,000 loan are roughly, I don't know, $600, $500, whatever, $600 per se. And they got a good regular loan. It's not it's not an adjustable rate mortgage. It's basically it's like a 30-year fixed loan. It's a good loan. Okay, and so subject to, what you do is you could structure the transaction and negotiate with the seller to leave the existing loan in place and then purchase the property. Let's say you negotiate with a seller and they say, hey, listen, you can, they want to get out of the property and you can do it for like $1,500. You give them $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000, whatever. You want to go obviously negotiate a low cash out of pocket on this particular deal. So now, what's going to happen is that you have it now under contract. You specify in the contract that you're going to purchase the property subject to the existing loan, and you're going to do an exact wrap of the existing loan. So what you're going to do is you're going to wrap that loan and then take the property. That means you're going to take title to the property, deed to the property. The loan is going to stay in the seller's name for whatever agreed upon term that you negotiate. So let's say you do it for 5 years. You could do it for 10 years. You could do it for the balance of the note. It could be for if there's 30 years left on the note, you could do it for 30 years. Whatever you can negotiate with a seller will work. Okay. Now, I'm using this for example's sake. I'm going to tell you what I would do on particular deals here in a second. So that is what's called a subject to. You leave the loan in place. The title company will execute all the paperwork for you to do the exact wrap on the existing loan. But literally, you'll own the property. You'll have title to the property, and then you will. I have a servicing company that services the loan, meaning I make payments to the servicing company. Servicing company makes payments to the bank, and then give a statement every month to the seller and give a statement to me so I can write it off of my taxes, the interest on it. So there. That is what's called a subject to. The next transaction is what's called an agreement for sale. It's the exact same principle as the subject to, but title does not transfer until the agreement, meaning the underlying note, is paid off in full. Okay, so the title does not transfer. The next one, strategy, was what's called a lease with an option to purchase, a lease option. So what you do essentially is you do a lease with the seller, and then you tie it up on a purchase contract, right? Actually, let me back up. I typically don't do a lot of lease options where I tie them up with seller. What I would do, in this case, once I have the property under contract, then I would sell the property on a lease option, meaning you give the new buyer a lease, and they come in with an option deposit with a purchase contract at a specific date, 18 to 24 months down the road, for a specific price. Okay. All right. So that is those are the 3 strategies that you can use to execute what we're going to talk about here in this particular episode. Okay, now let's get into it. What you're going to do is market for motivated sellers. Those motivated sellers are going to call. Let's say someone calls in and they have a loan on it for $80,000. The house is worth $100 plus or whatever. Let's call it $100,000. Make it easy. They have a $600 payment. What would you do with this deal? Well, what I would do is I would negotiate. Okay. To keep the loan in place, like we talked about, I only flip agreement for sales, meaning I tie it up and then sell it. I flip agreement for sales, but I buy and hold subject tos. I want to own title to the property when I do this particular deal. So what I'll do is I'll structure it on a subject to, meaning I'll negotiate with the seller, I'll keep the existing loan in place, and I'll do a minimum of 10 years. Okay, because we know that the market's going to take some time to get through the inventory. It might take 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but 10 years is the minimum I would do it. Minimum is what I said. Yeah, I would try to get, the whole 30 years, the entire. I mean, if I can get the balance of the note, I do that too. So now I've negotiated with a seller, and let's say I negotiated to give them $1,000. Okay, they're trying to sell it, they want to get rid of it, and there's, it's worth $100, but they just want out of it, and I take over the payments. Let's say they have to move out of state or whatever. I take over the payments on a subject to payments are $600, and then and now I buy the property for $1,000 plus closing costs. So let's call it another $1,000. So now I have $1,000 of closing costs, $1,000 I got to give to the seller. I'm in the property, cash out of pocket, in the property for $2,000. Okay. Now, I would make sure that the payment amount on the property, the $600, is significantly below the rental amount in the area. Let's say it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, and the rental amount on this particular property is, say, $900. No, let's call it, to make it easy, let's call it $1,100, right? Because we're trying to get $500 in cash flow. So so what we're going to do is get it like, say, $1,100. Let's say the rents are $400 and the payments are $600. So that right there will be $500 a month in cash flow. $500 a month in cash flow on this particular deal. Okay, and I'm going to have built-in equity, roughly $20,000. Okay, I know I had to pay the $2,000, but I got $20,000 built in equity. But I'm going to show you what to do next. Okay, so now what you do is you have the property, right? You own the property. Now you can market the property on a lease with an option to purchase. Okay, so now you buy it and you close it. You fund in the $2,000 cash. You own it. You have title to the property. You own the deal. Now it's time to try to sell the property. And we're going to sell it with a lease with an option to purchase. Now, with the lease with an option to purchase, I would do a lease amount for $1,100. Okay? So now I'm collecting my $500 a month cash flow. And I would do a lease with an option to purchase because, if I was just going to do a rental, then guess what? I'm going to have to take care of the sink. I'm going to have to take care of this. I'm going to have to take care of that. I'm going to have, all these rental type of things I'm going to have to deal with. If I do a lease with an option to purchase, it gives the buyer, the leasee, I guess, of the property, the guys that's going to buy it, a little bit more equitable. They have like equity in the property because they have a purchase contract, and I structure it to where they have to take care of everything. I try to get them to take care of everything. Now, in certain states, depending on the Landlord-Tenant Act, you will have to take care if they submit it in writing, like the AC or the air conditioning or plumbing or something like that. But 99.9% of the time, these people will take care of everything because they have a purchase contract on the property, and I set it up when I'm talking to them. Say, listen, I'm selling you this property. This is your deal. You can do what you want to do it. Here's a purchase contract. You're tied in for this price, and here's your lease agreement. Now, you have to make sure that in the purchase contract that they have to perform on the lease agreement to be able to execute on the purchase contract, meaning that you don't want to have the buyer or the person that's going to do a lease option with when you're selling the property to leave out to Mexico and then come back 18 months later and want to buy the property. So if they're in default on the attached lease agreement, then the property becomes then the contract becomes null and void, if you can follow me there. And the biggest reason was what I said. So you don't want the guy to take off, break the lease agreement, then come back and go, hey, I have a purchase contract on the property, I want to buy it. Okay, no, that doesn't work. If they're in default on the lease agreement, then the purchase contract becomes null and void. Now, when I'm doing this, I am going to get an option deposit. I'm going to get an option deposit on the purchase contract. That's his consideration. Now, my goal, of course, is to get a higher option deposit than what I had to pay out on the for the $2,000, the $1,000 to the seller and the $1,000 for the closing cost. So my goal, let's say if I can get someone to come in with $5,000 option deposit, then I got $5,000 there, and it covers my two. So I have a $3,000 profit. I have a profit now I'm holding on to. I've got $500 a month cash flow. And now the purchase contract I would only do for about 18 to 24 months. And the purchase contract, I would do it for a price that is higher, a premium. So, if the value today is $100,000, right, I would do it for like 110 or 120, 115, whatever you can negotiate. But obviously it's going to be higher than what market is today, because essentially they are locking in a price today for and be able to buy it down the road. It's like it's like a futures contract. You're locking in the price today, what you're going to buy it in the future. So you want to have a premium on that futures contract, I guess you could say, or the purchase contract. So in this particular deal, I'd probably do it for 115 to 120, right? So now you have essentially someone that's going to buy it for that amount, 18 months to 24 months from now. So you essentially have, you've got roughly, $40,000 potential locked in profit, not including the cash flow, that you get every single month. Now, I'm going to tell you something. 95% of the time, the buyer, the leasee, with a person that you're selling it to, with a lease with an option to purchase, they do not execute on the contract. Did you hear that? 95%. Because what happens is they get into the property. Their goal is obviously to reestablish their credit. And I do everything I can. I refer them to a credit counseling company. They can get their credit fixed. They can do whatever. But, I try to do everything I can do to help them out, to help them qualify. But statistics show that 95% don't follow through with the deal. Okay? So that's okay. But you're still able to lock them in, $5,000 deposit, and lock them in on a price. And if they default, then guess what? You could continue a rental, or you could extend if you want, or they can move out and they can do something different. Now, if they decide to move out and do something different, well, guess what? You still have the property. You can decide to sell it at that time if you want, or you can do another lease option and collect another $5,000, another $10,000. I've had properties that I've collected $5,000 and $10,000 and $15,000 option deposits on, all over a 1-year time frame on the same property. Made over $30,000 on one property just off option deposits, where people get in, they can't do it, and then they back out and they default. It's a non-refundable option deposit, so they're done. That's what they agreed to, and then I'll just go out. I'll send a cleanup crew, go in and clean up the place again, and re-lease option the property to somebody else. And if they back out, oh well. But the bottom line is is that you have your mortgage payment being paid, you have above and beyond, you're getting cash flow, and you're having built-in equity. So now what happens when you're marketing for motivated sellers in my system, the stuff I talk about, then you will have the option to be able to structure particular deals just like this. Okay? You'll be able to structure deals just like this. So let's say you're marketing, and let's say you have leads that come in like this. Now, every deal is not going to be as worth 100, and you get it for 80, and you do it like that. It's got to make sense. You have one you might get for 50,000, and they want $3,000 of cash. Well, guess what? You're flipping properties. You got cash coming in, right? So you can be able to structure it. In a way that makes sense for you. And the goal in these particular deals is to put out as little amount of cash as possible, and you want to have a house that's in the best condition possible. You don't want a house that's completely trashed that you're going to have to go renovate to be able to get it up to code. You want to have properties that are in excellent condition, good condition, rentable condition, to where literally you can just send a cleaning crew in there for $150, $200. We'll clean up the property, and then you can immediately start marketing it for lease option. That's exactly what you're looking for on the particular house and particular deal. So now let's talk about you do this, right? But you go out and you do it with, say, 20 properties in the next 12 months. And each property, let's say each property has, a built-in, $50,000 of equity. Well, guess what? There's your $1 million of net worth. And then you have 20 properties all making 500 now. Some properties will make 1,000. Some properties will make 500. Some properties make 300. I would make sure that you at least have 500. I would shoot for making $500 of cash flow on each property to make it worth your time to be able to do it. But if you have 20 properties at $500 cash flow, you're talking about $10,000 a month. $10,000 a month. And the great thing about it is you're doing exactly the same thing you're doing in your business, meaning that you are marketing for motivated sellers. But the only difference is you're getting to cherry pick the ones you want to keep in your portfolio. You can cherry pick that. You can say, I'm going to keep this in my portfolio because guess what? I can get in it for a couple grand. It has a good mortgage on it, good monthly payment on it. The rent's in the area for $1,000 or $1,100. I think I can rent it. It doesn't need a lot of work. Bam! I'm going to make a choice, and I'm going to keep this in my inventory. Now, let's say you have 20 properties. It's generating you cash flow. Well, guess what? You can now, right? Now let's say the market comes back, and let's say it takes 7 years for the market to increase, and it starts going up again, and we go through a next wave. Well, what if you turn around and sell that $100,000 property for $150,000? So now you get $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in equity on each property. You're talking about $1.4 million. Is that right? 70,000. Times 10, 700,000, right? That's $1.4 million in cash. Now you can 1031 that into do a 1031 exchange if you want, into other bigger properties. But literally, when the market comes back, you get $1.4 million in liquid cash, not including the cash flow and not including the tax benefit of depreciating the property. Now obviously you're going to pay capital gains on that and yada, 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 but that's still a good deal. You know what I mean? That's an unbelievable deal. So that's what you can do. Now, let's talk about, first off, rules. Number one, make sure that you're at least, minimum, in this market right now, at least 80% loan to value, meaning the property's worth $100 and you're at $80,000, no more on the loan amount. Okay? The lower the loan amount, if you're at 70% LTV, which would be a $100,000 property, $70,000 would be the loan to value LTV because you have built-in 30% equity. The better the deal, but the caveat, don't go higher than 80% of what the value is of the property, meaning the loan. Don't get into a property that is, it's great, it's nice, it's fixed up, and you're going to take it over and it's $110,000. I mean, it's a $100,000 property, but they owe $98. Forget it. That's only $2,000 of equity. I'd pass on that deal. Actually, I just did a deal I actually flipped recently that I did an agreement for sale for and flipped it on agreement for sale where the buyer, it didn't have, hardly any equity in the property, but there was good cash flow. But, it just wasn't good enough for me to keep in my portfolio, so I flipped it. He was happy with it, because they were going to put a good tenant in there, and there was a low down payment for him, and they could buy the property. And they're kind of banking on the appreciation, 5 to 7 years from now. But I decided to flip the property and make some cash off it. So you can choose. You can pick and choose what you want to do. That's what's great about this business. That's why I love it so much because guess what? You can build your net worth, you can build cash flow, and you can build cash coming in all the time. It's just it's awesome. It's completely awesome. Anyways, so now let's talk about negotiating and structuring the deal. Okay? So Al, you got the call coming in. I'm going to take you through the whole process from start to finish. You're marketing for motivated sellers. You get a call that comes in. The house, you do have quick comps on it. You check on Zillow. You figure out everything that's sold. And you figure out, hey, I think the thing's worth about $100. You have your seller lead sheet in front of you. You take all that information down. And then you find out that they owe $80,000. They got a good loan in place. As soon as they tell me they have a loan in place, then you got to find out the information. You got to find out, okay, what's the monthly payment? Are there payments behind? Are you behind on payments? Because see, if they're behind on payments, you got to bring the property current. That's going to be more cash. out of pocket. Okay, so you find out, are the payments current on the property? What's your current interest rate on the property? What is is those payments including taxes and insurance? Is it impounded? Meaning, is that PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance? So you're asking these questions to the seller when you're talking to them on the phone when they tell you a loan. So now my ears perk up when I hear, yeah, I've got it's a 30-year fixed, and I'm at 4.5 or 5% interest rate, right? Because interest rates have been low, so maybe someone refinanced, and my ears perk up. It's okay, and then I'm going to start finding out, about the back payments, see if it's in foreclosure, and then really digging into the motivation of why they want to sell. So what's the biggest reason you're selling? Oh my gosh, I just got transferred out of town, and on my job, and I've got to sell my house, and I got to sell it quick because I can't make both mortgage payments. Boom. There you go. That's motivation there. Well, I just went through a divorce, and I just, we just got to get rid of this house because I'm going to go move into an apartment, and I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm out of here. So, and there you go. That's more motivation that comes in. So the lead comes in, you take the information down on your lead sheet, right? You're gathering the information about the loan. So then you say, listen, this is not a wholesale flip. Okay? You're not gonna flip it into a wholesale to a fix and flip buyer. Because no fix and flip buyer is gonna buy this house, because there's not enough room to make a profit on it. Now, it could go, right, when you're doing your analyzing, it could go to a buy and hold investor with seller financing. You could do an agreement for sale, and you could flip that agreement for sale to a cash buyer that's going to come in, put a down payment, and then you can make a spread on the down payment. Meaning, let's say you negotiate with a seller. The seller wants $2,000. You turn around and sell it for $10,000 down. The seller makes $2,000. You make $8,000. And the loan stays in place, and the buyer is now happy because he only gets in the property with $10,000. Okay, so that is an agreement for sale that you would flip. So then what you're doing is you're going through your head and you're analyzing these particular deals and trying to figure out what's the best way you can turn it into a profit. And then you figure out and say, hey, listen, man, if this house is in good condition, she said it was in good condition. Well, then, I might want to keep it in my portfolio if I can negotiate the minimum down possible. So then you set the appointment, you go on the appointment, you walk around the house with a seller, right? And you see that the house is in good condition. The roof's in good condition. Their heating and cooling systems don't need a lot of work on it. It's been serviced recently. The house is looks like it just needs a clean job. It doesn't need. Now it's okay if it's dated, but you don't want a place that's trashed. Okay, because then you're gonna have to put money into it to get it rented. But you're looking through it and you say, hey man, this house is in pretty good condition. So then you sit down, you start talking to the seller, and you start talking to the seller about their options. So Sally, or so I think we use Sally, and Sally's my seller. So you talk about Sally's seller, and you say, hey, listen, I understand that you have to move out of state, and what would happen if you didn't, sell this property? What would you do? I mean, could you make both payments? And there's just like, absolutely not. There's no way I can make both payments. I can't do it. I just want to be done with this property. I just want to be out of it. And you say, okay, so let's look at your options. You could say, you could list it on the market, but if you list it on the market right now, offers are coming in for about 95% of what the properties are worth, and then you have to pay realtor commission, closing costs, and they're probably going to want you to fix some stuff. So literally, Sally seller, you're going to have to come out of pocket just to get out of this house. Now, are you in a position where you can come out of pocket for this house? Oh, no way, I can't come out of pocket. I don't have extra money. Okay, and say, well, the next option is you could just let the house go. You could just move and let it go. And he goes, and just let it go to foreclosure. Have you thought about that? No, there's no way I'm letting it go to foreclosure. Absolutely not. Sally says there's no way I'm going to let this go. I don't want to destroy my credit. I have a great credit score, and I don't want to lose my credit on this. Okay. So you don't want to come to the table. You don't want to let it go. Well, why don't you turn it into a rental, Sally? That'd be great. What if you did something like that? No way. I'm not a landlord type. I definitely would not want to. And I'm going to tell you, and this is me talking, not Sally. But I want to tell you that going through these options with sellers, I don't think I've found any seller that I've ever talked to when I'm taking them through these options of what they could do with their property go, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. I think I'll rent the property and become a landlord. Most sellers do not want to be landlords. They hate it. They don't want to be landlords. So if you give them an option of, and I know that, and give them an option, say, hey, listen, you could be a landlord. Guess what? You could be you could just collect rents, and they're like thinking, oh my God, I'm moving out of state. What if they call me if this breaks and that breaks and this breaks and that breaks? I said, well, you got to fix it. That's just part of being a landlord, Sally. So like, no way. I definitely do not want to be a landlord. So you go through that, and they said, well, Sally, what we could do, which I think might solve the problem, is we could structure it to leave your existing loan in place. Now, I can tell you, Sally, we do a ton of these transactions because think about it. I mean, the market right now for loans is ridiculous. People are having such a hard time getting loans. So we structure deals to where we can keep the existing financing in place. The good thing about it is that we will pay the title company will service the loan. We'll pay the title company, and the title company will then pay your bank, and you'll get a statement every single month that will come in. Now, you got to make sure your title company will do this for you, obviously, before you're telling the seller that, so you would have to find that out prior to negotiating with the seller. Okay? So that's what I tell them. And 99% of the time, they go, great, that would be great. So, Sally, how much money would it take to move? And they go, oh, it's going to take me, $500 to $1,000. And it's a great sale. Why don't we give you $1,000? Now, I always try to give the seller a little bit of money. And you want to give the seller a little bit of money, $500, $1,000, whatever, because it's going to keep them motivated, keep them in the game, keep them going to the title company, signing docs, keep them, providing the loan information on the house so the title company can get that stuff together. It's going to keep them in the game and motivated. If you tell them you're going to give them absolutely nothing, some are motivated and some are just not as responsive as where they're going to get $500 to $1,000. Okay, that's just my take on it. You can do whatever you want. Anyway, so you negotiate, give her $1,000, and then you write up the contract. You don't ask, so do you want to do this, Sally? No, I don't ask that. I just do it. I just write up the contract. I assume the sale and get it done. I write it up. Okay, great. Let's get it going. Here's the contract. Here it is. And then I'll walk them through the contract. And in the contract on this particular deal, I would say sell it in the contract. I'd say, obviously, I'm buying it as is. Buyers paying all closing costs. I have my out clause in there. Contract subject to partner's approval as an out clause. Contract subject to acceptable appraisals an out clause. You could put in there that contract can be canceled at any time by buyer. That's an out clause. So all these things are out clauses that you can put in the contract to protect yourself if you want to get out, or if you don't want to sell it, or if you want to, or if you figure out that you don't want it, and then you can't sell it. Those are called out clauses. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put in there. Now, first off, make sure you have your attorney, since I'm on a podcast here, make sure you have your attorney review all the clauses and all the documents and all the information prior to executing anything with a seller. That's my disclosure to you. Okay? Make sure you have your attorney do it. For some states, it might work here in Phoenix. Then in other states, it might not be. It might not fit perfectly. So have your attorney review it prior to you start executing and talking to motivated sellers. Okay, got that. So now, what you're going to do is you're going to put in there. It says seller agrees to convey title on an exact wrap of the existing loan. Right? So basically, they're going to convey title, right, on exact wrap with the existing loan. So they're going to wrap the existing loan, whatever that is. If it's $560 a month, PITI, then they're going to get $560 a month. It's going to go right to the mortgage company. Seller agrees to leave the loan in place for the term of X amount of years. Like I said, if you're going to do it yourself, 10 years minimum. 10 years minimum. If you're going to do it if you're going to hang on to it, and if you can get 30 years for the term of the loan, seller agrees to leave the loan in place for the term of the loan. Leave the existing loan in place for the term of the loan. Seller agrees that and then you can put buyer agrees to pay seller $1,000 net at closing. Okay? Buyer agrees to pay seller $1,000 net at closing. And then you're going to put obviously a caveat that the loan amount isn't higher than she disclosed. So then you put in there, loan amount shall not exceed $80,000. So what if the loan amount comes into at $85,000? Well, guess what, Sally? We're going to have to renegotiate, aren't we? Because guess what? It wasn't what you disclosed there. So guess what? We're going to have to do, we're going to have to renegotiate this deal some way. Which then you could still, I'd probably pass on it because I have to have at least 20% equity in the deal to make it work. Minimum. Okay, the more the better. All right, so now you've negotiated, you got the property under contract, you bring it to your title company. Now, I want to tell you this. You got to make sure you have a good title company. And you know what? I've talked to people all the time, all across the country that call up and say, my title company doesn't know how to do this. Well, what do I do? Find another one. I mean, it's like this. I told a guy today. He called up and he said, I talked to this one title company and they have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay? Well, next. Find another one. If you go to a brain surgeon, you're sitting down with this brain surgeon, and the brain surgeon's going, well, I don't know how to cut your skull open, but I can probably figure it out. Well, run! No, out of there! Forget it! What are you going to do? You're going to say, what are you going to try to convince him how to cut your head open? No, you're not. You're going to be out of there. Done. It's the exact same thing. You're interviewing escrow officers. You want to find someone that can do an exact wrap of an existing loan, that can do subject to transactions, that can do agreement for sales or land contracts, as they sometimes call them, that can do double escrows or assignment of contracts. You're going to find an escrow officer that will do that stuff. Okay, and if you talk to someone and they're like their eyes are rolling in their head because they don't know what the heck they're talking about, well, find someone else. Don't try to get them to do it because that's not what you want. You want someone that knows what they're doing. Someone with at least 10 years plus experience in the business is what you want. Just like if you're going to go get a brain surgery. You want someone experienced. You want someone that's good and knows what they're doing. How do you find that person? Go to your local real estate investment club and start networking with other similar investors that can give you a referral so you can execute these type of transactions. Or you can Google your state or your city wholesale properties and start networking with other wholesalers in your market and ask them for any type of referrals for a good escrow company. That'd be the first thing. If I was going to drop into your city right now and I need to find an escrow company, the first place I go is to the local real estate investment club. Second place I go is Google wholesale properties in your city, and then I would start talking to other wholesalers. I try to build an alliance with them, and I find out what title company they use, and they highly recommend to do deals. That's what I do. And within 10 minutes, I'd have an escrow company. Guarantee it. So that's what you want to do. Now, so you've got it. You bring the contract to the escrow officer, and then what you do? Then you instruct them per the contract that you're going to do a subject to, right? You're doing a subject to transaction on an exact wrap of the existing loan, and you want the servicing company to service it, and that's it. That's all you do. And then you're going to actually own, and you're going to take ownership of the property. Remember what I talked about. Properties that I flip, I do an agreement for sale, meaning title doesn't transfer until the agreement is met. Properties that I buy and hold in my own inventory, those properties I actually do a subject to because I want title to the property. Okay? All right. Now, they go through the process. They do the transaction. They got the closing costs. You give Sally $1,000. And then they you pay your closing costs. Now you own the property. Once you close on the transaction, you take title, you own the property, then you can start marketing the property for a lease with option to purchase. So how do you do that? Well, you stick a sign in the front yard, and you stick a sign on a couple of the corners, whatever, in the major high traffic intersections, and put house for sale. House for sale, and then put your monthly payments you want, minimal down. And then you're going to have the phone is going to ring off the hook, and you're going to get the property sold, on a lease with an option to purchase. You can put an ad on Craigslist, of course, Backpage, or eBay Classified, or you can put an ad in the local newspaper. But you'll get the property sold because it is a high commodity, having a property that is you're able to offer seller financing on, which you will be able to do. Okay. So now, so you've done that. Okay, and now, you've got the property tied up. Now you're going to execute a contract with the buyer. So you're the owner now. Now you're the seller now because you've owned it, and now you're going to market for the buyer, and the buyer is going to be someone that's going to live there, more than likely. So what you're going to do now is you're going to have a lease, a simple lease agreement, and then you're going to have a purchase contract. And I like to use my states, like I'm in Arizona, so I would use a lease agreement that the Arizona Board of Realtors uses, and I would use a purchase contract that Arizona Board of Real Estate uses. I would use those contracts because they're more well known in the court systems and stuff like that, and they're easier to defend. Not really defend, but easier to uphold. And a lot of title companies know exactly what it is as well. So I would use those, and you can just Google your state, or you find a realtor, and then the realtor can be able to provide you with one of those type of contracts. Okay? All right, so now, and if a realtor, like I said, if a realtor is not going to provide it for you, then next, find someone else, just like we talked about with the title company. It's you're looking for the team players. People are going to work with you. Okay. All right. So now you get a caller that calls off the sign. You're going to meet them over at the house, and they go, "Okay, let's do it. What do you want to do?" I say, "Great. We're going to do a lease agreement for $1,100. Okay. You're going to have your address of where they're going to make payments to, and then you can make payments to the title company, and the title company make payments to the bank on your subject to. So they're going to make payments to you, $1,100. Then what's going to happen is then you're going to do a purchase contract. Well, your purchase contract is going to be for the premium amount, $120,000, $110,000, whatever you can negotiate. The higher the better. Then you're going to write up the contract with them. For the purchase price, you're going to put a date on the purchase contract. It's 18 to 24 months in the future. You're going to put down there for non-refundable option deposit on the purchase contract, non-refundable option deposit. Let's say you can negotiate $8,000. Let's call it $8,000, okay? Which is not unheard of. Happens all the time, right? Negotiate $8,000. Now you have the purchase contract. You get the $8,000. They have a purchase contract, and you make sure you have verbiage inside the purchase contract that says that the attached lease agreement, must not be in default, or said, purchase contract is null and void. I'm driving, so I don't have the exact verbiage in front of me, but you get the idea. The bottom line is that you want to have the attached lease agreement that if they're in default, then the purchase contract becomes null and void. You can put it just like that. So now you have the lease agreement, you have the purchase contract, you make sure you make double copies, you give it to your now leasee buyer that is now going to occupy the property. You give them the keys, they now turn over the utilities in their name, and boom, you're done. They give you a check for $8,000, you give them the purchase contract, and now you're it. That's it. You don't even have to go through title or escrow or anything. Now, you can show them that you have, obviously, title to the property. You can show them that you have clean title to the property. So you can show them all that stuff for, if they ask for it, because you've just closed on the transaction. You can show them the deed that you just received, closing on it. So now you've done it. You've closed on the transaction. And now you've turned around and sold the property, and you sold the property for $8,000 down, and I'd say $120,000 purchase price, and that obviously the $8,000 would come off that that purchase price there. So you're done. So then you did it. So you have now $8,000 cash. You recouped your $2,000 you gave Sally in for closing costs, and you're up $6,000 on the deal. So not only are you collecting cash flow, not only do you have money in your pocket that you've got, you have built-in equity, and you have now a rental property as part of your portfolio. Now do that 20 times over in the next 12 months, and you will be sitting pretty. I guarantee it. Okay? Now, if you have any questions about this or at all, you can... Actually, I haven't even talked about If you want more information about how to do this stuff, go to Flip to Freedom, flip the number 2freedom.com, flip to freedom, number 2freedom.com, and you can get my free book. I wrote a 129-page book on exactly how to do flip properties. I don't go too much in detail on exactly how to do a structure that we just talked about. Inside the Flip to Freedom Academy, I have 19 modules that go through in detail, step by step by step. Each module is released each week, and it goes through a specific topic on how to market for sellers, how to market for buyers, and how to structure deals that we talk about, how to do subject twos, how to do agreement for sale, the whole gamut. It's your business in a box. Everything you need to know, everything. And if you think I'm detailed in these podcasts, well, you got to forget about it. I mean, inside the Flip to Freedom Academy, it's ridiculous of how much information I give away. So, not really give away. I mean, for you and your business. So go to flip2freedom.com. I would suggest you read my book, 129-page book. It's the Ultimate Real Estate Investing Blueprint. You can get that there for free. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just go stick your email in, and I will send you a special link where you can download that. That's how you can get some more information about that. All right, and then if you have any comments about it, you can just leave it in the comment in this particular post down there. If you have any questions, just leave any comments in the post there, and I'll answer that for you. All right, now, quick story. Then we got to wrap this up. I'm actually in front of this house right now, and it is trashed, so I got to go in there, take some pictures, and get the deal locked up. Anyways, so the my short story for you is this: is that working with people all across the country, I found that there are so many people out there that hate their jobs, hate what they do, are just dragging themselves to work every single day and just want to get out of the rat race, or maybe they like their jobs, but they're just working all the time. I mean, they're just totally just, they commute an hour or two to the office. They're there all day. They commute home, and think about this: is that they're working a job that they hate to get money to buy things they don't need, to impress people they don't like. And it has this whole massive thing that we're just on this massive quest to work the job, to get the stuff, to impress people we don't even like. You know what I mean? And it's so stupid. It's ridiculous. So, what if you could start flipping properties in your spare time? You could replace you basically replace your current income. That's what the whole program's about, is to replace your income. If you make $50,000 a year, the goal is to get $50,000 of cash in the bank as fast as humanly possible by flipping properties. And then it will give you the option to do stuff we're talking about, to get cash, to take $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, whatever it is, and negotiate deals that we just talked about to build your net worth and build your cash flow. Now, you could build bigger cash. I'm just giving you examples of what we talked about. It could be bigger. It could be larger. It could be, you could do whatever you want with it. You could do apartment complexes. You could do commercial properties. I typically talk about, just houses and single, just residential properties, because the barrier of entry is a lot lower for people getting into in this type of space. So the bottom line is that I've talked to so many people, is they are on this path, and in some time in their life, they realize that this path is not the path I want to be. And the only person that will change that is you. Meaning you have to make a decision to design your own life. You have to make a decision to design, how much time you're going to work. You have to make a decision to design, how much time you want to spend with your family. And the thing is this, is that, I'm a type A personality. I love to work. I love talking to people. I love doing podcasts. I love this whole website, internet stuff, and, working with people. I love it. It's great. It's a blast. I love it, right? It's a lot of fun. So I fall into that myself. I struggle with that every single day. Ask my wife, I struggle with it every single day because, I'm such a type A, and let's go, So I have to step back. And instead of being hyper connected to everything through the iPhone and the computer and this and people and that all the time between Twitter and Facebook, instead of being hyper-connected, unconnect, and then connect with the people that matter most. And there's actually two things to this, is that my wife's grandmother passed away 2 weeks ago. She was 86 years old. She had a great life. She was full of life. I mean, we watched, we have family in town. It was, quite crazy. And we watched old movies back in the early days when they had Christmases. They had each one of the Christmases were videotaped, and we watched them at my wife's grandfather's house, which was her wife his wife that actually passed away. So we're sitting there watching this, and it's funny, it's not actually funny. It's sad because, she was so full of life. Her eyes sparkled. She was excited. She was with her grandkids. She had her husband, and they're at Christmas, and they're sharing this time, and she's cooking dinner, and she's running around, and she's just part of everybody's, life, and she's there, and she's active, and she's engaged, and she's, with the family, which is the most important thing, and, she passed away, and, because the last 2 years of her life, she had Alzheimer's disease, and last 2 years she literally lost a ton of weight and just curled up inside herself into like a shell. She couldn't talk, she couldn't communicate, she couldn't go to the bathroom, she couldn't eat food and stuff. And my wife's grandfather, man, he was there every single day trying to take care of her. But I can tell you this, is that we are going to get there sooner than you think, okay? And, she had all of her family around her those last days that were, there to, say goodbye to her. But think about this. I'm 41 years old. My mind is like I'm 20 years old. The only difference is that, I've got gray hair in my temples. I'm weigh a little bit more than I did back when I was 20 years old. But my inside myself, I feel like 20, right? And the only difference is that my body doesn't function like I'm 20. I mean, you ever gone out and played flag football with a couple guys? You're on a Sunday afternoon, you're out there playing flag football, jump around, and you're giving everything you got, man. You're just like, you're just because you're not gonna go. You're not going to, go 90% because you're 41. You know what I mean? You're going to go 110% because that's the way you are. I'm the same way. And then the next day you wake up, what happens? Oh, man, you're just like, you can't wake up. You're going to your wife, terrible, my back hurts, shoulder hurts, neck hurts, man. You got ice all over you. It's, and back when I was in my 20s, man, I'd go nuts like crazy, and guess I wake up the next day and do it again. Well, things change. That's exactly what happens. She had the same mind in her head, but her body wouldn't let her communicate. Imagine how frustrating that would be. You're just going bananas inside this body that just doesn't function. And I can see that now as I'm getting older. So, if you're young, man, just love it, love it up. You're in your mid 30s, 40s, whatever, something, now's the time. So back to my story is that she had so full of life, and then at the last days, it's over. But, but we're on this path, right? And if you're hustling and you're working and you're cranking and stuff like that, to do these things, it's to do what? To impress an appreciative boss? Is to get a boat or get another car or get something else to impress a coworker or a neighbor that you really like? Or is it to spend time with your young family? And spend time with the kids, your kids, or spend time with your wife, or do whatever, and to do whatever you want to do, to go to the gym and get healthy, and stop drinking so much. I don't know, but I can tell you this little story is that one afternoon, I was doing stuff from the house, whatever, and doing some emails and following up with some people, making some calls and stuff. And my 7-year-old daughter, which is, she is a shining star. I can tell you, she is a little angel. She is an old soul. I can tell you that, and she is she's amazing, absolutely amazing. Well, she came home on an afternoon, and it was early afternoon. I think it was like 12:30. They had a half day of school, and her little friend Abby came over with her because her mom works a job, and she gets out at 6 o'clock. So so every afternoon, every half day, they would come over to our house and make them lunch and stuff like that. So what I did was and my wife was off. I think she was showing a house or doing something. She's a real estate agent, so she's out showing the house. So I was there to take care of the kids. So I made them lunch and stuff like that. Then I said, "Hey guys, you want to go for a bike ride?" So we got to the bikes. Got the bikes on. We went out. And got the little helmets on and knee pads, whatever. And we took them out on the bike ride. And I live in this cool little community where there's lakes and there's ducks and there's it's like a big master plan community. It's real nice. There's playgrounds and play sets. So we took our stroll on our bikes around the path that we normally go and took a big old thing of a bread for the ducks and loaded it up and took it out to the and fed. There's like hundreds of ducks that are all around us, and it's funny. Abby was saying that she's never done that before, and she's 7 years old too. And I've done it with my kids hundreds of times. So my kids are pros when it comes to feeding these ducks that are incredibly aggressive and will be biting off your knees. Anyway, so we're sitting there feeding these ducks and having a blast. A beautiful day outside here in Phoenix. It was like 60-something degrees, 65 degrees, beautiful, sunny out on an afternoon. I think it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon or whatever. We're just hanging out, riding bikes, feeding the ducks. So we ride all over the place, and we're out there for 2 or 3 hours. We went to the park. We played at the park there, all around. Came back to the house. Made dinner, and got all that stuff, got some of their homework done, put her to bed. And took a shower, got curled up and went to bed, kissed her on the forehead. And as I was walking out the door when she was going to bed, she said, "Daddy." I said, "Yeah, what's up, Ava?" And she goes, "Today was the best day of my life." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "Today was the best day of my life." And I was, shocked. I didn't go bring her to Disneyland. I didn't go bring her to, I didn't go buy her, bring her to Justice, and she bought all these clothes or something like that. And I didn't go buy her some big gift, or something. I just spent time with her. I went bike riding with her. I hung out with her and did what she wanted to do. She said it was the best day of her life. How many best days of your kids' lives are you missing because you're working all day long to impress a boss, to buy the stuff, to impress your neighbor that doesn't even care? He's on his own journey. How many best days have you missed? Well, make a decision today to make sure that those little things that you can do with your daughter, with your son, with your wife, and those are the important things. Because guess what? We're all going to be curled up in a body that's not going to function. And we're going to feel like in our head that we're 20 years old, 40 years old. And we're not going to be able to communicate and express ourselves like we used to. And then, my friends, it's too late. It's too late. There's nothing you can do. It's over. And see, it's between right now, and that moment in time in the future, between where you are today and that time you're on the deathbed, is all the time we got. For some of you, it might be 20 years, 30 years. For some of you, it might be 40 years. Some of you, it might be 10 years. Cherish the time now and find something that you love to do. Find something that will give you the freedom to do what you want to do with who you want to do it when you want to do it. And if you want to take the day off and spend it with your daughter or spend it with your son, then guess what? That's a choice you can make and not have someone make it for you. I dedicate this podcast to my wife's grandmother, who was a true inspiration and a shining light as well, and an angel in heaven. So until next episode, I wish you ultimate success and true freedom. Take care, and God bless.